Welcome to the Gi Spot podcast. My name's Rachel Bradshaw and I'm a black belt in Jiu Jitsu.
Hi, I'm Kaz Page and I'm a purple belt in Jiu Jitsu, and we're back again.
How are you?
I'm good. How are
That's
you?
Good. I'm great.
Excellent.
Last week's episode was great.
Yeah, we're still on a bit of a high from that, hey?
Absolutely.
Very much so. She's an amazing woman and she's doing some phenomenal work for the veteran space. So
absolutely. And I've started training.
I know. I've been watching your posts going up. I do like the comments that you put with the photos going up though. So let's talk about retrospective. How was your week?
Yeah, it was really good. I started training.
Yeah.
I'm like 18 months out for this challenge that she set me. This, what is it, a 100K ultra.
100K. You only have to do 50. No.
In a team of two.
Yeah, in a team of two. So you got to do 50.
Yeah. But
How are you feeling about that?
Look, the fact that it's 18 months out, I'm feeling okay because it doesn't seem real yet.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I'm like, I've got to get my butt into gear.
Yeah.
And so I've started training. I haven't got myself a coach. That's something I'll talk to her more about that.
Yep.
But I have just gone, okay, well, we're 18 months out. Let's just get out there.
Yep.
So I've got a track nearby. It's really cool. It goes from a beach up to a lookout and then continues on to another lookout. So
that's through Crackneck, right?
Yeah. So I don't know how long it is really because Strava's telling me one thing, but the sign on the post at the walk tells me another thing.
Which one's the longer one?
I actually think that the signpost is lying.
Longer or shorter?
It's saying that it's 8.4 kilometres.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that long.
Oh, okay.
Because I know me and I know how fast I move and I don't move very fast. And I'm managing to do it in an hour and I'm also going up like
the terrains. Yeah.
So I think that it's more closely to what Strava's telling me, which is about 5.5 Ks.
Are you excited though? Like this is a whole new challenge, right? This is not something you've done before.
Never something I've done before.
Okay.
Totally out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
Yeah, you look excited.
Yeah.
You looked excited last week when we were chatting with her and the gauntlet was put down. So.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that buddy to just go, let's do this.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, let's do this. Stop fighting it and
Yeah.
just go with it. You know, people pause and they stop and they think and then all of a sudden the excuses come in. And if you just go, I'm just going to say yes.
Yep.
Let's do it.
So a good week.
Yeah, really good week. How's your week been?
Well, my week's actually been full of firsts, which is pretty exciting too.
Tell me about it.
So as you know, we've started the production company.
Yes.
So My Broken Productions. And a part of that journey is I was pretty excited with the fact that I'm a published author.
Yes.
That was something that I never thought.
That's so cool.
I know.
It's so cool.
Right? And it's a cool thing to say.
Like, it really is. Because most people talk about, or a lot of people I know, even myself, I'm going, I'd love to write a book one day. But no one goes out and does it.
And that's the thing, right? So, and I never thought I would either. And I did. And it's published and I can proudly say I'm a published author.
Yep.
I thought once we published the book and I'd moved on to podcasting I thought that was it for me writing.
Yeah.
And with the production company, we've decided that I would blog the journey. You know, nobody knows how this is going to unfold and all the rest of it. But I started blogging and I started writing again. And I've already posted the first 2 blogs and the third one's written and I'm invigorated. It's like, it's a part of this journey is us wanting to help people tell their story. And this is part of my story, you know, so I'm invigorated. So I got, you know, we've started the soft launch for it. I've started the blogs. And this week is kind of the beginning of the beginning for this journey, which I'm super excited about. So they're first for me. That was really exciting.
That is awesome.
It is. I like writing.
So where can we find these blogs?
On the website. So I've started putting it up on the socials as well for the My Broken Soldier site.
Yep.
And the website is mybrokenproductions.com.au and there's a blog section in there.
Awesome. So, and on there you can also find some stuff about the Gi Spot podcast.
You can, and both podcasts, and that's ever evolving as well. So by all means, guys, please head on over to the website, My Broken Productions, and have a look because it's our journey and it's exciting, and I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well,
so that's my week so far.
What's this week about?
Okay, so this week's going to be a hard hitter, I think, because I think this week's going to touch with a whole lot of people that are out there. And it's about coming to Jiu Jitsu in the 40s plus. And it's a really interesting topic because you and I are both a part of the 40s plus Facebook group for Jiu Jitsu. Yep. I'm part of the 50s plus Facebook group for Jiu Jitsu. Yes. And there's a lot of people out there that are in their 50s and 60s starting this journey.
And 40s.
And absolutely 40s. And hats off to all of them. So we were talking just a second ago before we started recording about how old you were when you started jiu-jitsu. So you said you started at 27.
So I was 27 when I first stepped on the mats.
Yep.
Trained for about 9 months. Yep. Fell pregnant. Stopped for 4 years or 5 because pregnancy plus 4 years.
Yep.
And when Flynn started, I started back. So I was 32 when I started back into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And I have nothing but envy at that point. And so we did the maths. I was 45 when I started jiu-jitsu.
And I'm 46 now.
And you said?
I can't imagine starting now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just so part of my life now, but I just think if I was, I mean, it's kind of like me going, okay, I'm going to do an ultra. So who knows what I would do? I can.
But the thought of it is more daunting the older you get.
I think so. I take my hat off to anyone who, you know, is mid-40s starting in this journey.
Yep.
Because it's a long journey. It's not like you're training for 18 months and doing
That's
it.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly
10
right.
10 years, 20 years ahead of you.
I'll be pushing close to 60 by the time I qualify for my black belt. And that is a daunting thought that, you know, I mean, a lot of this is physical and you can't dispute that in any way, shape or form. But through my teens and through my 20s, I was exceptionally competitive.
Yeah.
And in all of the sports that I did, I competed at nationals, at state levels. That's in my DNA. That's so deep entrenched. It's like saying, you know, in defense, they break them down and rebuild them and it becomes a part of who they are as a human.
Yeah.
It's indoctrinated into them. That was me. Like my teens and my 20s was so competitive. And that's still a part of my head space. So my head still wants to believe I'm 25. My body didn't, you know, my body's got a different story.
I don't have an issue with that. I think the longer that we can think that we're young, the longer we'll be young.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you in that regard, but there is a negative side to it as well. And that is because I'm doing something that in my head, and this is my own demons, right? So this isn't me competing with anybody else or anything like that. This is me fighting my own demons. But when I enter onto the mats, every time I go to the mats, I know this is something I'm never going to be a 25-year-old champion at.
Yeah.
And that's sad. There is a sad element to that goes, I came to this sport too late. And so you have to deal with that. And I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that are like me that kind of get onto the mats and realize that there is such a competitive component to this. And it's not, you know, I say it all the time, it's not about wanting to beat other people. It's about, can I be the best? And that's my race against me, not, you know, the best against two doesn't matter.
Yep.
But can I be the best? And the answer is no.
But that's, I mean, look, there are masters and things like that.
Yeah, but it's my body that wouldn't sustain it. The injuries that I've taken from horse riding, motorbike riding, you know, different things in that, it's knowing that this just has to be a social thing for me. It's
a hobby.
A hobby. Yeah, that's the word. Thanks. It's finding that balance that says, Kaz, slow down. This is a hobby.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a really interesting thing because in my pre-talk to any new student that steps on the mat, doesn't matter if they're 16, doesn't matter if they're 45, okay? One of the things that I say to them is we've got rules on the mats. Some of the rules are we don't grab individual fingers, we don't grab or touch faces, and we don't just grab heads and start twisting stuff. Now, there's a reason, and I say because there's not a single person on this mat who is a full-time jiu-jitsu athlete.
Yep.
everybody's got a job to go to tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a partner waiting at home. Everybody's, got to present in the world. And you don't want broken fingers if you're working with your hands. You don't want to be messed up all over your face with black eyes and broken noses and things like that. If you've got to present yourself to the world, right? So yes, sometimes those things happen. It's part of it.
Yeah.
We're not baking cakes. We are doing a martial art. But we try and minimise it by putting safety measures in place. And I say the only person on this mat that does jiu-jitsu full-time for their job is me. Right?
Yeah, yep.
So part of what I read a lot online about is people going, I'm a jiu-jitsu athlete and I'm doing this full-time. And I sort of laugh and I go, no, you're not. There's probably a handful of people in the world that make money competing in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you on that level, but that's not what I'm talking about in my head psyche.
No, but what I'm saying is I think more people need to realise it's actually just a hobby. I think people take it a little too seriously sometimes and need to just relax their expectations on that a little bit.
And I think in trying to find that for someone like me, that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think, it's not something that I would ever walk away from. It means too much to my family.
Yep.
It means too much to my husband. And now that I found my why in it, I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Even today, right? So today, rolling with you, not even rolling, so ping-ponging. Yep. Look at me go.
Yep.
But just getting down and doing the Connor cow. You're welcome, Connor.
Milk the cow.
Milk the cow.
The Connor cow.
The Connor cow. It's my new name for it.
Okay.
It's the Connor cow. And realizing just that micro movement of going, oh, I'm not supposed to throw it that way. I'm supposed to throw it that way, or let it go or push it back.
Yeah.
Those things are amazing for me. That's like fireworks going off in my head going, oh, thank fuck, the penny just dropped. Yay, okay, I get this now and I can work on this and I can move.
Yeah.
Those things are invigorating for me. That's my I'm growing, I'm getting it, There is still in the back of my head that little girl going, you came too late. And that, I think, is something that doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot, but probably should get talked about a little bit more, because it's got to be okay to go, yeah, I came late. And that's sad. It's a bit like Scarlett. I'm sad today, my dog died. Do you know, there is still that element that's in my head that's probably always going to be there, but it's what I do with it that I have to find. I have to find the enjoyment in it being a hobby.
Yeah.
I have to find the enjoyment and the enjoyment in it being because I am getting the community out of it. I am getting the friendships out of it. I am getting all of these positive things out of it. And it's that conversation that I have to keep having with myself going, that's actually enough. And that's okay. So I think, I'm curious as to whether or not I'm just left of centre or there's other people out there. They're a little bit left of centre with me.
I don't know a single adult student who came onto the mats as an adult. Doesn't matter if they're 20 or if they're 40.
Yeah.
That doesn't regret not starting younger.
Yeah.
It's the ones that start at 4 that they don't ever get to say that.
Yeah.
And
they don't have to struggle with it.
They don't have to struggle with that mentality, because it's like, well, would you want me to start at 2? Did you want me to start in the womb? I don't know.
I don't know. There's a lot of pregnant chicks out there doing jiu-jitsu, so the kids are being rolled.
But most adults, I hear that at some point, oh, I wish I'd started sooner.
Yep.
Just it's the regret of hindsight.
That's it. Yeah. 2020, right?
And I mean, even me, I stepped on at 27. Oh my goodness! Even stepping back on at 32, I didn't realize it at the time, but now I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't taken those 4 or 5 years off. I wish I'd had the baby and then worked out something that I could at least stayed back on, even if it was just one night a week during that time.
I will shout out to any 20 and 30-year-olds out there that are doing it and toying with the thought of this is too hard, I'm going to chuck it in. Don't. Regret's a horrible fucking thing to have to live with.
Yeah.
Just don't. Even if it means that you're going down to, I don't know, once or twice a week or whatever, don't walk away. No. Because getting back is hard. So stay with it. But I will say though, in starting at 47, and we've talked before about me being like heavy in my weight, blowing up, and it was hard. You know, it's hard getting the knees up to the chest, and it's hard not feeling like I wasn't suffocating myself at different times.
Yeah.
The pinnacle change for me physically was when I went and engaged with John, so we call him J-Mac, to get stretch and conditioning.
Yep.
And that, I've got to say to anyone who is in the 40s, 50s bracket, if you are just starting on the mats, for the love of God, don't just think jiu-jitsu is all you need. Go and, even if it's watching YouTube videos or it's, you know, finding a strength and conditioning coach, whatever the case may be, but put more effort into your body outside of the mats, because jiu-jitsu requires you to fold up like a pretzel. And you need to be able to, you know, I'm sure there are games, because I've seen people do jiu-jitsu that are, you know, can't touch their toes, whatever the case may be, and they're, you know, high up there. But it does make it easier. And it allows you I've never felt better than when I was at the peak, working with John, training 3 or 4 nights a week before my neck went out. And I was moving like a 52-year-old. I don't know most 52-year-olds that could move like I was moving.
Yep.
And, you know, Matt always tells me all the time that he's envious because I heal well and I repair well and I've got a physical body that does bounce back. But it takes work. Like, look at me now. I'm blowing up like a fucking Oompa Loompa because I've done nothing and I'm post-surgery and all the drugs. I'm not moving like that. I do have to work at it to get it all back, you know, and I'm back with John and I'm back on the mats and I'm doing all this. But I have to be worth it. So invest in yourself. If you're coming to the mats in your 40s or 50s, that's probably one of the biggest things that I would say. Invest in yourself for conditioning and stretching.
Yes.
Because that's massive.
I think stretching is really important. I think doing some weights is really important.
Yep.
You don't have to go bulk up or anything like that, but improving your strength.
I got the wobbles.
Improving your strength is great for whether you do jiu-jitsu or not, really, isn't it?
Yep.
Everything gets stronger, your bones get denser, you know, and that's for longevity. We want those sorts of things. I actually need to get back, and I keep talking about it, but one step at a time.
Yeah. When we're going to do that here one day a week, like How much do you want to take on?
We're getting there. I'm piling on. I said we're doing the veterans class yesterday, and I said I've actually realised now, I'm in my 40s, that I can't just keep piling everything onto the plate. I have to sit down and actually go, okay, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu 3 and 4. I mean, I'm on there every day.
Yeah.
I'm on the mats every day. I'm coaching every day. I'm engaging.
And sometimes more than once. It's not just every day.
No, every day, twice a day, mostly. But it doesn't mean I have to roll hard every session or even roll every session. So now I've got to sort of sit down and go, okay, now I'm training for a running thing, right? So that's, rather than just piling it on, let's sit down and actually do this sensibly and go, all right, every second day I'm going to run and every day in between I'm going to roll. Yeah. And then, because my body's so used to rolling. Yeah. Like it's like brushing my hair, brushing my teeth. It's so it just, I'm more sore now if I don't roll. Yeah. So, okay, I'm adding this in. So I'm going, okay, we'll add this in, and then in a week's time, then I'll sit down and work out a strength and conditioning program, and I'll start to add that into, because I'll need that for the running as well. Yeah, for sure. You know, I need to make sure.
And look, I think once you hit 40, I know for men and women too, and I get the funny view because I'm 10 years older than Matt, right? So I go through all these things, and Matt has no idea what I'm talking about, and he's like, yeah, there, pat on the back, you know, on you go. Raising his eyebrows. And then 10 years later, he catches up and it's like, oh, yeah, remember? Yeah, I know what you...
We had that conversation and you just, you know.
I know what you're feeling.
Didn't think I was serious, right?
Yeah. Welcome to my world. But as we hit 40s and as we hit 50s, things change and things slow down. And it is harder to kind of build up that strength, and it is harder to maintain the weight loss or to keep it off if you're losing it. So it's really important that we do refocus on ourselves. I think in 20s and 30s we're so outward facing and just having fun and whatever.
You can think about, I've got to fit into that dress in a couple of weekends' time. So I might need to like drop a couple of kilos, and all of a sudden it just magically disappears. Yeah. It just seems to think about it and there it goes. You hit 40 and it's like,
Yeah, no, that's
Not budging as much.
My
or
father
as
used to
easy
call me a
anymore.
long streak of pelican shit until I hit 40, and then it was just Oompa Loompa. Yeah, that was my nickname.
Okay.
If you think about it, it's just long and slinky.
I get it. It's an interesting thing to call your human daughters. That's okay.
He wasn't the most charming of men. Never
That
mind.
explains a lot to me about you now. It's opened up a whole new world. I want to differentiate here. There's two sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
There's the person who comes up through Jiu Jitsu.
Yep.
Say they start in their 20s and their 30s and now they're hitting their 40s.
Well, yep.
So I think there's some things there that we need to talk about because there's a change of expectation that starts to need to happen. That's important. And then there's the person who goes, I'm 40, I want to do something different with my life. You know, maybe I can't play footy anymore. Maybe I can't do some of the other activities I enjoyed. How about we go do this gentle art and try some jiu-jitsu, right?
Yep.
Because it is so good for you. It uses every muscle in your body.
It does.
It strengthens your core. It does help you be stronger. It's a great community. There's all these benefits to it. And we've spoken about that multiple times before. But physically, it's actually pretty good for you as well. As long as we can maintain fairly injury-free throughout it. And that is a lot to do with your expectations. If you can lower that a little bit, you'll probably be injured less.
And I think one of the things that you didn't say there was mental health.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way we speak to ourselves through the journey that can make or break what happens in those early days.
Yeah.
Because I know, we laugh and we talk about the white belt spaz, right? And everybody's going to get on and go 100 miles an hour. And that was exactly me.
Yeah.
And I was going home with crippled fingers and I was going home in agony. And in doing some reading for this episode, every single website that I went to about suggestions for coming to the mats at 40 and 50 is go slow. Mm-hmm. Lower your expectations. Be okay with being the new person and not knowing everything overnight. The older you get, the longer things take to learn. The older you get, the longer your muscle takes to memory. So none of that, and because of the person I am, I'm 100 miles an hour, I want it now, etc. and so forth, and my brain's still a 25-year-old where my body goes, fuck you, no. Dumb fuck. And so I didn't know to slow down. I didn't know to take my time. I didn't know that it was going to take me a little bit longer to come to the party in this sport. And it's not a gentle sport. They lied to me.
Do you know why they call it the gentle art?
No.
No? It still dumbfounds you as to why?
Yes.
Because you can train it to maximum potential without actually injuring anyone. In the fact that I can put an arm bar on you and I can take it to that point where then you will tap and I will let go.
Yeah.
I know if I go an inch or two further, I can hurt you. You know that as well. That's why you tap. But no one gets hurt because you tap and I go slow and that sort of thing.
Because you're a black belt.
No. But in another type of martial art, like think Muay Thai or boxing, you can't practice that.
Yeah, well, not human to human.
You can lightly spar with each other, but there is that contact.
Yeah.
And if you were to train to that point and just that second before, it's very hard to do. Yeah. But you're going to injure people left, right and centre. So that's why they call jiu-jitsu the gentle art, because in that way it is more gentle. But it does.
The white belts don't get that memo.
No. But the white belts don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, I know.
And they're like giraffes around on skates, right? And so their bodies are going left, right and centre and all over the place.
I was more like a hippo on skates, but yeah, I get it. I was not gentle.
So I think one of the big key points is if you are coming into your 40s and 50s, having already trained for a long time, or you're stepping on the mats for the first time, one of the big things you've got to do is just listen to your body more.
Yeah. And learn how to listen to your body. Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing too, because I know a lot of people, Matt's got a lot of training in this field and people will ask him quite often about different elements. And having lived with him for 23 years, I've learnt and picked up a lot, and it dumbfounds me how many people don't know how to listen to their body. and aren't in tune with what the body is sometimes screaming out really loud, trying to tell them.
Or they listen and ignore.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. It's like,
my
I'll just push
neck's
through
really
anyway.
sore, and
Yeah.
I've had a headache for 3 days. And I'll go, okay, so what have you done about it? Oh, nothing.
Yeah. No.
Just hoping it goes away. Well, no, maybe you need to go to a physio or to a chiro or to someone, an osteo, just to maybe get a bit of a readjustment.
Yeah, think about it as an engine light on your car.
Yeah.
Because everyone who sees that little orange fucker come on the dashboard panics and goes to a mechanic.
Yes.
Okay, except you. Producer Matt shaking his head. No, I don't. I do. Or you look up the book
Well,
and
you
you
do,
read
because
it
you
and
don't
you
want to
find
be
out.
stranded.
That's right.
That's my thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so well, your body might strand you if you don't
Exactly.
check the engine light and find out what the hell's going on, right?
And it could be a little thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you get onto it quickly, it often is a little
That's
thing.
right. Yeah,
a
it probably
quick
will be.
fix. If you leave it and let it go on, and suddenly your engine's blown up.
Yep. Yeah, and then you're fucked and you can't roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's about understanding. Even if you can't listen to it, if there is something that doesn't just feel right, even if you haven't figured it out,
Yep.
invest in you.
Yep.
Know that you're worth it. And just like your car, it is still your vehicle. Your body is your vehicle that's getting you through from sun up to sundown and resting sundown to sun up. Unless you're a shift worker and then it all goes out the window anyway.
That's true.
I just shut up now.
I know that.
Okay, so we've definitely got that. The other thing is, one thing I will say is that as an adult, and I think more so in the 30s and 40s and certainly 50s realm, touch wood, I don't have to ever know, but dating apps were created for a reason, right? And dating app, I know you're looking at me like, where the fuck is this going?
I was like, are we on the right podcast?
We do get a lot of people telling us what they get when they ask Siri to look up the geese spot.
And also, not only was I thinking that, but equally as horrified at the thought of ever having to use one.
I know, me
So,
too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I said touch wood,
Yeah,
like it's nothing I'll
knock
ever
on
have
it
to
too.
do.
All right, go for it. Sorry.
But
back to as you were.
As we were. Okay, so yeah, walk with me here.
Okay.
Right, so as adults, we stopped socializing so much. It's harder to find friends. It's harder to get out and, people don't necessarily go to the pub and talk to strangers anymore and all the rest of it, right? So that's why all this computer stuff was created, so you can swipe left, oh, yeah, maybe, right? Or yes, let's go and have a coffee, whatever. They made it more efficient to meet people. Jiu Jitsu is a phenomenal community.
Yes.
And it will bring all walks of life together with a common goal, to learn this gentle art, to put the jigsaw pieces together with each other, to trust, to confide in, to rely on, to rely with, to learn from, to teach. There's all these rolling elements that come with this thing. And community allows you not to have to swipe left. Right? You don't have to sit in your lounge room and look on your phone and go through 500 people to decide whether or not you want to go and have coffee with someone. You've got 30 or 40 people on the mats that you can say yes or no to and build friendships with. You are one of my closest friends in the whole wide world. I got you through Jiu Jitsu. Yeah. Right? So it brings together, and people, as you get older, the fear of going and socializing, I think, becomes stronger.
Yes.
It's easier to sit on your couch. It's easier to go, no, I don't need anybody. We all need people.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu allows that.
Yeah.
And I've been in a lot of sports. I don't know a lot of sports that brings this level. They probably exist. I'm not saying they don't, so don't shoot me down, people. But this definitely does. It doesn't matter what gym we have been to around the world. I have friends in so many different places around the world because of jiu-jitsu.
I think it's the physical closeness.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
You can tap hands, bump fists with someone and then be inside their guard, I would say, legs. So you can be inside their legs with clothes on, of course.
Yep.
But
Pajamas.
like, I often will joke and go, I'm not even this close to my extended family.
Yep.
Like my immediate family and my jiu-jitsu people are the closest I am physically to anyone.
Yep. And you don't bat an eyelid.
Nope.
Yep.
It's just part of the normal
Yeah.
thing that we're doing.
Yep.
I had to giggle. I was giggling on the inside when you were like, because there's been a bit of a question lately about how to decline roles with people.
Oh, yeah.
And what do I say not to offend? And I was just thinking, wouldn't it be funny if we brought this thing out where someone would come and say, "Hi, Kaz, would you like a roll?" And you went, "Swipe left."
You know I'm going to do that now.
Swipe left. No need to re-ask.
Blocked. Swipe left, swipe right. Let's go. I think we need to, that's got a trend, right? Swipe left.
It could be a funny way to decline anyway.
That's awesome. But and you have to know, like, swipe left means you need to now keep walking.
Yeah. Go away, Joe.
That's awesome. No, I'm a fan of that. I think that's awesome.
I think it's super important as you age and get older. And I don't like saying as you age. I don't feel like I'm getting older at 40 yet.
Oh, wait till you hit 50.
Okay.
I didn't either. 40s, I was good.
Yeah.
I was rock solid through my 40s, no problems at all. I was still having a ball.
Yeah.
50 hurt. 50 hurt mentally more than physically.
Did it?
Yeah. 50 for me, and I've spoken to a lot of women who have entered their 50s and have all agreed that 50 was like, oh shit, it's the hump. You know how Wednesday's hump day and everybody goes, whoa, we're on the downward slide?
Yep.
Yeah, 50's, oh shit, I'm on the downward slide. And that was a real awakening for me.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, hang on, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
The first year of my 50s, I struggled a lot. Second, I'm 52 now and I'm like, nah, all right, well, I've just got to get shit done.
Yep.
Get out of my way.
No
and
more
I'm back.
wasting time.
No more wasting time, yeah.
Because I think we do a lot of that.
Yeah.
As when we're younger, don't we?
For sure.
You think you have forever.
Yeah.
And
you
so
don't.
you just sit on the lounge and binge watch Netflix and go, I've got, 80 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
And you just waste a hell of a lot of time doing a hell of a lot of nothing.
I actually wrote that in my blog today that I finished this morning. It was about the 2%. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But one of the lines that I wrote in there was, the lesson I learnt at 52, I wished I'd learnt at 30. And it amazes me, we say all the time that with age comes clarity and comes foresight and what is it? Wisdom. It's sad that, and I know myself at 30, I wouldn't have listened to someone in their 50s either and took all their wisdom. Like you just don't.
You can't put an old head on young shoulders.
You just can't. And
There's
I wish you
that's
could.
a saying.
Yeah, I know, right? And I just think of all that wasted space that I could have better, more so done with had you been able to listen back then. So, 30's out there with any insight at all, listen.
Yep.
Do look after your body better. Don't think that you have tomorrow because you might not, so do it today. Yeah. Just do it.
It kind of bounces in the exact opposite of my next thing though, which is you need to prioritize your recovery. So you actually need to prioritize your downtime and let your body rest a little bit.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean doing nothing.
No, and it doesn't mean coming off the mats either.
And I did 75 hard during COVID. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like you have to do 2 sessions a day of hard physical activity. You got to do this, blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I used to do, because I used to was running a lot in that time, lifting heavy weights and stuff, and wasn't doing Jiu Jitsu because it was COVID. But on a Sunday, in my head, I was like, oh, I've got to go for that run. Oh, no, I don't. I just need to get outside and do some exercise. I can go for a walk today.
Yep.
So I called that my active recovery day, whereas I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't just sitting on the lounge going, okay, I'm recovering and I'm doing nothing.
Yep.
You can go out there. You can have the ice bath if you're into that. I'm not. I can't stand cold water.
No.
But I like the spa. I can hop in the spa or the sauna or go for the gentle walk or do some yoga, do some stretching, but prioritize your recovery.
Yep.
So that's going to give you longevity.
And again, coming back, I know I harp on it a lot with the mental health space, but it's such an important part of our world. And going into the surgery, that first surgery that I went into, I was only supposed to be off the mats 3 months. Yeah. And then all of a sudden our whole world gets turned upside down and I'm off the mats for 6 to 9 months, right? Well, I'm not. I'm not off the mats for 6 to 9 months. I had the surgery in August?
Yep.
and we're November.
Yep.
I'm back on the mats, and I'm not back on the mats being me. I'm back on the mats being 30% of who I was. But
at least you're back on
I'm
the mats.
back on the mats, right? And even Matt said to me this morning when I was getting up, he's like, "Oh, are you going to training this morning?" I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "Oh, good for you, babe." You know, it's happy. And Michael, one of the veterans, said to me today, "Kaz, I'm so glad to see you back." He said, "You walk in and you seem so happy and so vibrant every time you walk through the door."
Yeah.
And that kind of feedback, that lifts you.
Yes.
That's like, oh, cool. All right. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine in California this morning. She's going through cancer in her foot, right? And she's in rehab and she's got to go through a lot. And I said to her, it's those milestones. It's those milestones that says I've achieved that. It means I'm moving forward. So the first couple of times I rocked up to the gym at Iconic, I walked in the door and I said hello to everybody and I sat on the bleachers. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. Getting on the mats was a high risk. I couldn't be bumped. I couldn't anything. But I would come in and it was amazing to see everybody. And then the next milestone was I put on a T-shirt and a pair of trackies and I sat on the mats bless you, because I sat on the mats and I sat with my head up against the wall because I needed to rest it and I couldn't do anything. But I was on the mats.
Yeah.
Each one of these are milestones and I'm doing them faster than I should have been doing them against, the medical profession and all the rest of it. But I'm not doing them at risk to me.
Yes.
Because I'm happy, because I want to be there, because I'm up and I'm invigorated, I'm healing.
Yes. And there's a lot to be said about a positive mindset.
Yep.
And faster recoveries.
Yes, absolutely. And so don't sit on the couch. You're right. People, you've got to take it slowly. You've got to heal. You've got to look after your bodies and you have to put you first. But I think if I had have just sat at home on the couch all day, and you saw me at my worst, right? You know that when I did have to sit at home on the couch all day, that was really, really dark space for me.
Yep.
And so
that's when I came and kidnapped you.
Yeah, and stole me away and got me out and doing stuff. And, if I had have just done the medical orders and just sat and I don't know, it would have been a really, really horrible process.
And we've talked about that before, about the one thing they don't tell you when you've got to go in for major surgery is the mental health aspect of.
There was no discussions. No discussions whatsoever for me or for Matt. Matt's also not been able to roll for a really long time because of his hand. And there's been no discussions, no red flags, no, hey, do you have mental health issues in your...
It's not even thought of.
No, it's really not. And it's like saying, I don't know if anybody's ever seen a wild big cat caged before, but that's what you see in that cage as that physical thing is just exploding. That's what happens inside my head.
Yeah.
And it's not a good space to be in. So it didn't matter what we did, going to lunch that day, going for a walk, getting out and being amongst people is what saved me through that process.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm older, it was harder. If I was in my 20s, it would have been a different landscape. But there's things that you have to take into consideration if you take an injury in your 40s or your 50s.
Yep.
There's more things than just the physical attributes to it.
When we train as older practitioners, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I was having this discussion with, he's actually our oldest member on our mats. He's 58, 59. And he was saying, and he's incredible, absolutely peak physical condition, can roll as hard as anyone can roll on that mat. And he was saying to me that he was feeling like his body was starting to get a bit sore. And I said, well, you can go more gently with your rolls. Like he's got that kind of old man strength, rah, rah, and he just goes like, rah, 100 miles an hour. He's one of our purple belts. He's awesome. But I said to him, we had this conversation one afternoon, and I said, you've got to learn to play a little bit more.
Yep.
Because when you play more, you're not putting as much pressure on your body.
Yep.
When you're holding onto stuff tight and everything's kind of straining and you're thinking, I've got to win this round, or I've got to, engage, get on top, do, what I want to do, that's putting your body at your highest risk or maximum
What
capacity.
was his response?
Well, it was kind of like I think a light bulb moment. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, but the problem is because you roll like this all the time, everyone's going to be thinking that's what they're getting from you.
Yeah.
It's going to take them a little while to realize that you're going to start playing a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you've got to give them a time as well. Or you can verbally say, let's just play with this one, or let's go a little softer, a little bit more playful. If you use your words, that will help. But it doesn't mean that you can't train. Even I do it. And I know I'm sort of stumbling over my words here, but, you know, when people think about training in the sparring portion of jiu-jitsu, everyone's got this image in their head that they go into a round and every round's tough and you've got to like go 100% or 80% or 60, well, even 60%, right? Mm-hmm. Like this, that, and you're with giants and you're fighting for your life and you're getting out on top and you're sweating and getting a good workout. It doesn't have to be that way. I will roll with one person who might be like 100-kilo man and I really go, okay, that was a tough round. And then I'm looking around the mats and I'm going, where's one of the teens I can roll with? Well, that was a mistake because they just ran rings around me too. So let me go, okay, next round, let's try again. Let me go with this new lady over here. Yep. That's going to be a nice, I can sort of talk them through. So your training intensity doesn't have to be at a certain intensity the entire workout. You can up and down it and go relaxed. And
I think more conversations like that need to be had, though.
Yeah.
Because in all my previous training worlds, that's not a conversation that had ever transpired until we went into COVID and I had the rats downstairs and they were like, Kaz, 60%. Like if you're going to go 100, so am I. And you'll lose. And I did every time.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with the how to drop back. And so where the penny really started to drop for me was in women's class, when I started coming to your women's class.
Yep.
And I was further ahead than most of those women, right? So at that point I was blue belt, 4 stripes, then purple, and they're in their new journey. A lot of them had just started. They were going to get nothing from me if I just went normal Kaz spaz, right? And so I had to learn to play.
You had to slow your roll.
I had to slow my roll. And I had to slow my intensity and I had to slow my strength and I had to slow. And then it became fun.
Yes.
I wasn't on defense mode. I didn't spend 5 minutes solidly just trying to defend and survive. And I think that had I not probably entered into that women's class, had I not had those discussions with you, had I not been sort of confronted with it by the rats as well, going, hey, and they were, bless them, because they were all doing it to protect me. It's like, Kaz, slow down, like we're helping you here. Had I not had those conversations, I never would have got to that point on my own because it's not in my headspace. My headspace is go 100 miles an hour, kill or be killed.
That's it.
And so I think, it's beneficial for people to have more conversations like that.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I hear you say it all the time and I chuckle to myself quite often when I hear you say it in a class. It's okay to use your words.
Yes.
And it sounds so bizarre that that's funny and that but people don't talk.
People forget.
Yeah.
People think that even to the point where you'll be doing jiu-jitsu and training and sparring with someone and you'll have your hands tied up and you'll have your legs kind of tied up and you'll have people like tapping on the shoulder like really lightly because that's all they could do with 2 fingers and you're literally going, you can say tap. You have a mouth with words that you can still use. It's not just a physical thing.
Yeah. No.
So, I mean, that's at its very base level. But
it's true though. It is. It really
you see
is.
that happen all the time. But people can also use their words in, hey, look, I don't have it in me today. Can we just play?
Yep.
Can we just, ping pong or can we just... and I mean, the way that you tend to roll will be how you tend to receive things back as well. So that's important. Like, don't be that person that goes, hey, let's just play, and then you go full ham. Like, that's not fair either. But there's guys in the academy that I know, they roll hard.
Yep.
And I will seek them out when I want a roll that's going to be hard.
Yep.
There's people in the academy that I know that play. And it's all about, it's more about the jigsaw puzzle technique side of it, going in and out, upside down. Matt's excellent example of that. When him and I have a roll together, it is purely that technique and that technical application of how can we get to checkmate.
Yep.
It's not about who can outmuscle the other person. I'll lose that anyway. But it's not about that. It's about, you know.
And he says the same thing as well. And he loves it. And it's an interesting and it's a really eye-opening process too, because you don't realise how much of those micro movements and the technical learnings you get from just having a play.
Yes.
From slowing everything down and going, oh, you know, you were doing it today when we were doing the I forget what it was called, but
head and arm choke.
Yeah, my favourite.
Which you wanted to do.
Which you
like
I've got to learn a new game.
You're on this mat, Kaz, but today's technique is not for
it's
you.
not
We're
for
not
you.
pushing our head with our neck into the side of someone's shoulder.
But I just had to show him what I meant about roller shoulder. Anyway, we'll have that discussion later.
Yes.
But it was like, getting them to slow down and go, okay, you've got to tuck your elbow in, and you're walking around the elbow. And then it's like, no, you know why that didn't work? I got to watch because your elbow was out as you were walking around.
Yeah.
So the slower you go, the more you get to see those micro movements, the more you get to understand them.
Yes.
And if you do it repetitiously over and over again, then on the occasions that you want to go have a hard roll, it's memory cemented, right? It's in your muscle memory. You're doing it. But if you're just a bull at a gate every time, and that was my biggest flaw. In my jiu-jitsu career, in my jiu-jitsu journey, everything was bull at a gate. Everything was just fast and hard, fast and hard. I was just in that survival mode.
And a lot of academies run their things that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that Grant and I will always say to the students on the mats, and that is if the only time you can get something is because you've put it on fast, there's something wrong with your jiu-jitsu. You should be able to still get something and go very slow with it and still be, if you can still get it when you go slow, that means you have all your ducks lined up in a row, everything's where it should be, and you can still finish it by going slow. That's when your jiu-jitsu is really good.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
All right. Nutrition. As you get older, it becomes more important, right?
Yeah, it's not one that I've ever really, I say ever.
I'm sitting here drinking or sipping on my Pepsi Max.
That's all right. I'm having coffee and water.
Well,
so
that's probably healthier than my Pepsi Max.
I haven't had Coke Zero since before the surgery. I know, and it's huge for me. Matt is the chef of the house, and, you know, whilst we have some food that is probably not the healthiest, it's rare. And so food probably in the last sort of 15 years nutrition for us isn't really, it's a non-event for us because.
Is it a non-event for us or is it a non-event for you because Matt takes care of it?
It's a non-event for me because Matt takes care of it.
I've seen Matt's meals and they're incredible, and they've got the protein, they've got the veggies, they've got everything that you need,
and it's all fresh, made from scratch, constant.
A lot of stuff out of the garden, in fact, which is healthier than
paddock to plate. Absolutely. So we don't have processed meals, we don't have processed food, a lot of it in the house or anything like that. The kids get some treats, and we have a box of Smarties of a night time. That's our treat. We go to bed and we eat a box of Smarties. But it's, breakfast is a cooked meal, and lunch is a cooked meal, and dinner is a cooked meal. So he has always been very mindful of food. And especially I had diabetes through pregnancy.
Right. And
there was a big shit fight with that when they put me on to whatever that shit is that you're supposed to take when you got diabetes. Insulin, thank you. And it put me to sleep. It was horrible. It was like I went into this massive fog. And he got really angry. He's like, no, you're off it. We'll do it through diet and exercise. And we did, and we curved it all back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is. So, if you're willing to put the time and effort into it, it can be a thing. But I think as you get older, I think it is certainly something that you have to take into consideration. And eat, peel a carrot. It's not hard. I peel a carrot. I had little baby cucumbers and a bit of mayo last night. As my snack after dinner. So just buy fresh.
What's been the biggest shock to you, or what have been some of the biggest challenges for you as coming into jiu-jitsu at 46, 47 and continuing through until 52?
Learning the language. And I guess that was my own fault. Like, I listen to people like Vicky or Jess, right? And they're down pat with it. But I think it's only now that I'm starting to really understand the language.
Yep.
It is a language unto its own.
Yes.
There's, like any sport, they have their own terminologies and names and things like that. So learning the language has probably been one of the things. I'm a very... I see the pictures in my head as I go through things. So when we're drilling, I can see everything clearly. And 98% of the time, I can replicate it through drilling, right? No, she put her hand there, she did this, she did that. All right, let's go with that. Sorry, I keep hitting that with my pencil. But then transitioning that from a drill to a roll, getting my headspace out of defense mode, learning to try and put that into a jigsaw puzzle, learning to concentrate more on what I'm doing, learning to let go of the control. That's probably been one of the biggest, hardest hurdles for me, because I don't want to lose.
But also everything else in your world is within your control.
Yes, everything. Everything.
You're the boss lady, right, in the rest of your world. So to have to then step on the mats and be humbled, right,
it's hard.
in that way.
Yeah, it's huge.
So you've had to really put your ego aside.
Yeah, and let go of the control.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm there yet. I can't honestly put my hand on my heart and say I'm 100% there yet. I still don't think I am. I still think, even today when we were ping-ponging, the first thing I wanted to do was grab you inside control and, take control and hold you, and because that's where I know I can.
Yeah.
And then what are you doing, Kaz? You can't do that from there. I'm like, well, I'm just trying to do something new because I don't want to dive for side control. And so it's a conscious effort. Everything in my world outside of jiu-jitsu is I've been doing my job for 30 years. I've been, in my space, in my world, in my comfort zone for so long. And I've built this bubble where I can pull the strings and I know everything I'm doing, and I manage stuff and I organize and I structure and everything. That's not the case in jiu-jitsu.
And it is actually one of the biggest things that I see with older people, middle-aged people stepping on the mats for the first time. Yeah. By the time you hit your 40s and 50s, you tend to have life a little bit better worked out. Your kids are growing up, you've been in your work, you've probably climbed the ladder a little bit. Yep. If you've done other sporting activities, you've done them at a decent level or for a long time, you kind of know your stuff, right? To step onto the mat for the first time and be a complete newbie all over again, it's not a great feeling.
No, it sucks.
Especially if you've been that person at the top of your whatever that you do. And it's the biggest thing I find, especially with men, really struggle to go back to being at step one.
The learner.
Yeah.
Yeah, the learner.
Yep. And so there's a lot of ego that has to sort of settle down, because especially with jiu-jitsu, where it's like, well, we're fighting, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And most guys think they can fight naturally, even if they've never fought before, or they have been in some scuffles in their time or this or that. And
there's a testosterone element to it as well. There is,
right? Yep. When Jerry was on the podcast a few weeks ago, he said, and it nailed it. It was like, when guys come in, you've got to kind of calm them down and go, you don't know everything. Settle down, relax, chill. Yeah. When women come in, you've got to kind of fire them up and go, you can do this, get out there and kill them, because women tend to be like a little bit more second guessing of themselves and, I don't think I can do this. The guys think they can do it without ever doing it before, right? So, that's one of the things I see where people struggle. Yep.
And as you get older, it gets harder.
So you've got to lower those expectations.
And it's not ego in a what's the word I was thinking of? It's not ego in a malicious way
No, not at
or a
all.
posturing way or anything like that. It's just every human being has an element of ego in them.
Yes, and it's healthy.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you had
absolutely.
zero ego, then
You'd
you
be
wouldn't
boring
get,
as batshit.
You wouldn't get anything done.
Yep.
Because you would never believe in
that's
yourself
right.
enough
And there's
to do
no
it.
challenge in your own self too, right? So it's not a posturing ego in that regard, but it is still an ego that needs to be left at the door. And quite often we think we acknowledge it, we think we're doing that, and we're actually not. And that was me for a really long time and still is to a degree, because irrelevant of who I'm rolling with, there's still this little voice inside my head going, don't lose, don't lose, don't lose. It's not don't lose to you. It's not don't lose to the person. It's don't lose to myself. Be better, be better, be better. And you've got to quieten that noise. You got to learn to go, shut the fuck up, dumb fuck. I'll get there when I get there, and that's okay.
Well, that actually goes into probably my last point. And it circles right back to what we talked about right at the start, is that when you're older and, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever it is, you need to set realistic goals.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean joining your Jiu Jitsu academy and rolling and training 5 or 6 times in your first week. Because we won't see you for 2 weeks after that. You will be very sore, and you'll also lose motivation. You need to kind of keep this so it's just almost there. So, go, okay, I'm going to start with 2 days a week, or I'm going to start with 3 days a week max. That would be my expectation. 2 to 3 days. One day, you can do 1 day a week. It is a very slow journey if you do 1 day a week. And there's a lot of time in between for you to come up with excuses and
sit on the couch
and end up
and
YouTube
your jiu-jitsu journey.
But if you go, all right, 2 times a week or 3 times a week max, I'm just going to start out with that. Give your body time to adjust and have no expectation beyond that. Just keep turning up 2 or 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. 2 times a week, and if you get a 3rd session in, well done you. That's what I think would be really good. As you progress, you will naturally pick up an extra day here or extra morning there or something like that will just sneak its way in.
It gets easier.
It does. It gets much easier. Like I said to you, rolling for me now is just like brushing my teeth. And I could do it I do it in my sleep. Who else rolls over in bed and does a hip escape? Do you do that? You don't do that? Do you do that, Matt? Do you roll in? Yeah. When I roll from one side to the other, I do a hip escape to get from one shoulder to the other. I do a hip switch in bed. So I literally do. And
I hook my foot over the mattress and I throw myself around from that.
Please send us a message if you do what I do, because I often wake myself up mid-switch. I'm jiu-jitsuing in my sleep. So that's having your expectations at a reasonable level.
I post up quite a lot in response to people on the 50s plus chat group, right? Because they'll go, oh, I'm injured and now that means I'm off for so long, etc. And I'll often say, or people go, oh, I came in thinking that I was going to do 5 days a week or whatever, and I'm just not there. And I will quite often write a response going, give yourself a break here. Like, understand the generation in which you are in and allow that to be okay. Or you'll hear complaints about, I just can't keep up with these 25-year-olds. Why are you even trying to?
Exactly.
Like, just don't. Let them have their time as we had ours when we were 25 and be okay with that.
And, there will be 25-year-olds that will want to roll with you. It's not like you can't, it's not, I don't know. Don't try and keep up with them, but also enjoy what they bring to the table.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you can absolutely have super fun rolls with them. Just don't try and compete against them.
No, and don't have it with every single one of them every night that you're in their training, back to what you were saying before. Every second roll, take some time, have a play, work on the micro. You're not learning that's probably one of the biggest things, the biggest light bulb moments for me in the last 12 months of jiu-jitsu has been, I am learning more by slowing down than what I've ever learnt by going fast. And that awakening moment of going, I don't care if you want to go 100 miles an hour. I need to slow down because I want to learn. Not you, but whoever I'm rolling with.
Yes. Oh, it's definitely not me. I have slow jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you have very precise jiu-jitsu though. So, and that's where that's the whole thing for me is now I'm going to learn more, and my jiu-jitsu is going to be better if I do slow down. And then every so often I will still be able to ramp up and go hard and do that against the appropriate person, but I'll do it better and I'll do it smarter, even at 52, even at 55, even at 60, because I've learnt now that not everything's going to come to me like it did at 25. And so I have to shape and shift. It works.
And there's a little bit to be said with kind of hunkering down and protecting. If you're with someone that's going 100 miles an hour and they're spinning all around you, it's quite often that I'll just hunker down a little bit and let them wear themselves out, spinning around me, doing all their jiu-jitsu. And then when they've settled, I'll go, okay, let's start. Let's start engaging in this role now. Is that fun?
I'll still hunker a motherfucker. Listen here.
I'm not trying to keep up with the speed of a 20-year-old though.
No way.
I don't even try. I let them go. And if they happen to get me, they get me. You've got to be okay with that as well.
Yeah.
You really do. You're going to get caught. But that's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's right. That's the part of the game, right?
I don't know. I kind of think it would be boring, like getting to black belt and never getting caught again. Where's the fun in that? Where do you start to work out, oh, damn it, I made that mistake? Like it's always learning. You're always learning.
And I think that was the transitional shift in my headspace. Don't be so defensive. Let it go so I can learn. Where are my gaps?
Open up.
That's
Open up
right.
a little bit more. Be a little looser with it. You might surprise yourself.
There was no wisdom for me in jiu-jitsu. I didn't come with wisdom. I'm learning wisdom. But look, I think to anyone that if you're out there and you're in your 40s and you're in your 50s and you're just at the start and you're questioning whether or not you should be, the answer is always yes. Don't quit.
Don't quit. But be smart about it. Talk to your coaches as well. Like they'll give you tips.
It's okay to use your words.
If only everyone knew that. It's out there now.
It's okay to swipe left and it's okay to use your words. That's my
take. Would you like to roll? Swipe left.
Please, people, make that a thing. That's so cool.
What's your hope today, Kaz?
They swipe left. Sorry. I do amuse myself. Okay, my hope is that my hope is that the 20s and 30s that are listening to this episode work with the 40s and 50s and understand that we're at a different time. We're at a different place. Our bodies hurt a little bit more.
We don't bounce back quite as quick.
We don't bounce back quite as quick, but we do come with an element of wisdom in life. And so go gentle with us. Don't be in a rush to beat us. Work with us because you'll keep us on the mats longer and we do have something to bring back. We do have something to give. So my hope to the young ones out there, please take time to understand the generations that you're working with. And to my generation, hang in there. Because if nothing else, I'm living proof that you can get through the worst of injuries and still come back. And
even quicker than you thought.
Even quicker than I thought, and I'm doing that because of the people surrounding me in that community. And my family and my friends have made that possible for me, and I got that from this sport. So hang in there. You don't have to win every role. You can play, and playing is probably more important in the learning. That's my hope.
Beautiful.
What's yours?
I want to be doing jiu-jitsu until I'm in my 80s, 90s if I can. Elio was 92 when he stopped doing jiu-jitsu. That would be cool.
92.
92.
That's cool.
He was 96 when he passed away.
I reckon he passed away at 96 because he gave up Jiu Jitsu at 92. Maybe he should have kept doing Jiu Jitsu.
I reckon he might have had to stop doing Jiu Jitsu at 92. But, you know, my mum has a neighbour and she's 93. Yep. And she said to me one day recently, she's like, I'm starting to slow down. I had to give up bowls. This week. And I'm like, cool. You know, that is so cool. Yep. Why give up the thing that you love?
No.
If you love it, just find a way to work with it.
Yes.
And I think working with it is so much more beneficial than trying to fight against it.
Yep.
You know, so as we get older, stop trying to fight against getting older, trying to work with it a bit more. You might be able to keep things going a little bit longer.
Yep, absolutely.
But that's my goal. I want to be a grandma on the mat. So just to everyone out there, like, just keep working at it. You know, this is a lifetime thing. Yep. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We're in this for the long run. It brings so much to my life that goes beyond the physical.
Yep.
I don't want to give it up. And I would hate anyone out there thinking, you know, I've hit 50 years old, I've got to give this up. No, you don't.
No. Or I've hit 50 and I can't start. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely you can. Excellent. All right. Well, that's it. That's what we've done for 40s and 50s.
Before we go, like, share, subscribe.
And reach out to us too. Yeah. I'd love to hear from some 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds just starting out.
Yeah.
Shout out to us. Let us know how you're going.
Yep. Or I want to hear from the ones that have sort of entered those age brackets that have gone, and I've had to change this up this way.
Yeah. Yeah, give us some tips and tricks and we'll throw it out there as well.
Absolutely. We're on YouTube now.
We are. We're on YouTube and we're video live on Spotify and all of the other streaming things as well that I don't know what they are. But
so if you don't want to just listen, if you want to watch too and see all Kaz's beautiful facial expressions.
And find out why I can't play poker. I cannot keep a straight face to save
give everything away.
They do.
Check us out there as well.
And don't forget Savvy Touch too for your 15% discount with the capital G, capital I code.
Get your Rocket Fuel. I've seen so many ads about Rocket Fuel lately, and it's not just because I follow them.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it from all different aspects. So their brand is really starting to take off.
It's amazing. And he's got the release now on the sports one as well. So it's been certified and everything for professional sports people to be able to take with them, and it's FDA approved and blah, blah, blah. Our physio I was telling him about it and he bought the stuff the next day and I've rocked up for my next week and he goes, he's got the whole pack, he's got it all now sitting on and he's going to become a reseller for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's absolutely besotted with it and he's putting it in all his patients' mouths every time they walk in the door. It's hilarious. I'm like, I don't need it. I had it an hour ago. Thanks, we're good.
You know who I was selling it to, or not selling it to, but telling about was my son's singing teacher.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, because like she was just saying like sometimes cold and flu season you get a bit blocked up and I'm like, you've got to try this
Have
stuff.
I got something for you?
Yeah, and this just will open up all the airways and let that sound come out.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, look, it could be for anything. But anyway, without further ado, thank you for listening again to us this week. Please say hi. Thank you, Kaz.
Thank you, lovely.
And I'll see you next week.
Bye. This podcast is a My Broken Soldier production.
And brought to you by Iconic Jiu Jitsu.